March 1st, 1896. Northern Ethiopia. Dawn breaks over the town of Adwa. On one side, 17,700 Italian soldiers with modern rifles, artillery, and the confidence of a European power conquering Africa. On the other, 100,000 Ethiopian warriors with everything to lose. By sunset, the Italian army will be annihilated, thousands dead, the rest fleeing in panic. A European colonial power utterly destroyed by an African nation. This is the Battle of Adwa, the victory that changed everything. To understand Adwa, you must first understand what made it impossible. The year is 1884. European powers gather in Berlin for a conference. They have a map of Africa, they have pens, and they have agreements. They're dividing an entire continent among themselves. France gets this, Britain gets that, Germany gets those territories, Portugal gets these colonies. Africa isn't consulted. Africa isn't invited. Africa is just being carved up like a business deal. By 1896, the entire continent is falling, kingdom after kingdom, empire after empire. The Ashanti resist, but eventually fall. The Zulu fight brilliantly, but are overwhelmed. Resistance everywhere, but European industrial weapons and unlimited reinforcements win eventually. Except one place, Ethiopia. Ethiopia is different. It always was. While European colonizers called Africa the Dark Continent, Ethiopia had been Christian since 330 AD, before most of Europe. While Europeans claimed Africans had no written language, Ethiopia had been using Ge'ez script for over 1,000 years. They had libraries, ancient texts, religious manuscripts going back centuries. While Europeans drew arbitrary borders, Ethiopia had existed as a unified state for over 2,000 years. They had emperors when Rome had emperors. They weren't some primitive kingdom that Europeans invented narratives about. They were a sophisticated state with diplomatic relations across the Christian world. But they were still African, still black, and Europe couldn't accept that an African nation could resist them. Italy decided to test that theory. Italy was late to the colonization game. By the 1880s, Britain and France had taken most of the profitable territories. Germany was establishing colonies. Even tiny Belgium had Congo. Italy wanted their piece of Africa. They wanted to prove they were a real European power. They looked at the Horn of Africa, Somalia, Eritrea, and Ethiopia. In 1889, Italy made a move. They signed a treaty with the new Ethiopian emperor, Menelik II. The Treaty of Wuchale. Friendship, trade, mutual recognition. Except there was a problem, a deliberate problem. The treaty was written in two languages, Italian and Amharic, and the two versions said different things. In the Amharic version, Ethiopia's language, Article 17 said Ethiopia could use Italy for diplomatic communications with other European powers, optional assistance. In the Italian version, the one shown to other European powers, Article 17 said Ethiopia must use Italy for all foreign relations, making Ethiopia an Italian protectorate. Emperor Menelik II read the Italian version. He understood immediately what Italy had done. They had lied, deliberately, in writing, in a treaty. Menelik did something brilliant. He wrote letters to every European power in their own languages. The letters said, read both versions of the treaty. See the difference. Italy is lying to you. Ethiopia is not and never will be an Italian protectorate. The European powers read the letters. They compared the treaties. The deception was obvious, but they didn't care. Because acknowledging Ethiopia's independence meant acknowledging that an African nation could negotiate as equals, that an African emperor could be right and a European power could be wrong. So, they looked the other way. They accepted Italy's version. They treated Ethiopia as Italian territory on their maps. Menelik knew what was coming. Italy wouldn't stop at a treaty. They wanted physical control. War was inevitable. But here's what Italy didn't know. Menelik had been preparing for this moment his entire life. Menelik II became emperor in 1889. He was 45 years old. He'd spent his youth watching European colonization spread across Africa. He understood what was coming, so he prepared. First, weapons. Ethiopia needed modern weapons. Menelik played European powers against each other beautifully. He bought rifles from France, cannons from Russia, ammunition from anyone who would sell. By 1896, Ethiopia had stockpiled over 100,000 modern rifles and dozens of artillery pieces. Not traditional weapons, European weapons. Second, knowledge. Menelik sent Ethiopians to study in Europe, to learn European military tactics, to understand how European armies fought. He hired European military advisors, Russians, French, Swiss. He learned everything he could about European warfare. Third, unity. Ethiopia was divided into regional kingdoms and powerful nobles. Menelik spent years building alliances, negotiating, sometimes forcing unification. By 1895, he'd unified more of Ethiopia than any emperor in recent history. And he had a secret weapon, Empress Taitu Biche. Taitu wasn't just the emperor's wife, she was a political and military strategist in her own right. Noble birth, brilliant mind, fierce nationalist. She had advised against trusting Italy from the beginning. When Menelik discovered the treaty deception, she told him, "War is coming. Prepare for total war." She would be proven right. In October 1895, Italy invaded from their colony in Eritrea. Italian commander General Oreste Baratieri led forces into Ethiopian territory. He captured some border towns, early victories. He sent confident reports back to Rome. Italy expected easy conquest. They'd been told Ethiopia was divided, poorly armed, primitive. They were wrong on all counts. Menelik issued a call to arms, not just to his army, to all of Ethiopia. The call said, "Italy has invaded. They claim we are their colony. They lie. Every able Ethiopian must come. Bring weapons, bring supplies. We fight for our existence." And they came. From every region, every province, every kingdom, warriors arrived with rifles, with swords, with spears, with shields, with whatever they had. Old men came, young men came, women came as support, as fighters, as leaders. Over 100,000 Ethiopians mobilized, the largest African army assembled to face European colonization. Empress Taitu personally led a contingent of warriors. She organized supply lines, she rallied troops, she was on the battlefield herself. The Italian advance slowed. They were fighting more resistance than expected. Their supply lines were being harassed. The easy conquest was becoming complicated. By February 1896, Baratieri was in trouble. He'd advanced too far into Ethiopia. His supplies were running low. His troops were exhausted. The Ethiopian army was gathering in massive numbers. He wanted to withdraw to Eritrea, consolidate, resupply, wait for reinforcements. But Rome sent orders. Attack. You have modern weapons. You have European military superiority. One decisive battle will break Ethiopian resistance. Rome was impatient. Rome was arrogant. Rome was about to learn a lesson. Baratieri didn't want to attack. He understood he was outnumbered, but orders from Rome were clear. On February 29, 1896, he moved his forces toward Adwa. He planned a night march followed by a surprise dawn attack, but nothing went according to plan. The Italian army was divided into 4 brigades. The night march was chaos. Ethiopian terrain is mountainous, rocky, difficult to navigate in darkness. The brigades got separated, lost in the dark. Some went too far, some didn't go far enough. By dawn, the Italian force was scattered across miles of mountainous terrain, and the Ethiopian army was waiting. March 1st, 1896. Dawn breaks. Italian scouts realize the Ethiopian army isn't where they expected. They're everywhere, on every hill, in every valley, over 100,000 warriors in organized formations. This wasn't a scattered resistance force. This was a professional army with modern weapons and strategic positioning. The battle begins.
The 1st Italian Brigade, Dolomites Brigade, is isolated on the Italian left flank. Ethiopian forces surround them on 3 sides, massive numbers, coordinated attacks. Dolomites men fight desperately. They have rifles, they have some artillery, but they're overwhelmed by sheer numbers and tactical encirclement. Within hours, the entire brigade is destroyed. Dolomites is killed, his men are dead or captured. The Italian left flank has completely collapsed. In the center, 2 more Italian brigades face the main Ethiopian assault. Emperor Menelik II personally commands the center. Empress Taitu coordinates flanking movements. Ethiopian artillery, those Russian cannons Menelik bought, begin firing. European-trained Ethiopian gunners shell Italian positions. Ethiopian cavalry charges hit Italian flanks. Not wild charges, coordinated tactical strikes using terrain advantage. Italian soldiers expected to face primitive warriors with spears. Instead, they're fighting an organized army with modern weapons and better tactical positioning. The Italian center begins to buckle. Soldiers are dying in massive numbers, officers are falling, units are breaking formation. On the Italian right flank, the Albertoni Brigade advances too far trying to support the collapsing center. They walk into an Ethiopian trap. Thousands of Ethiopian warriors hit them from multiple directions. The terrain works against the Italians. They can't form proper defensive lines in the Rocky Mountains. Albertoni's brigade is shattered. Albertoni himself is captured. His men are dead or captured. The Italian right flank has shattered completely. By noon, 3 of 4 Italian brigades are destroyed or routed. Thousands dead, thousands more captured. General Baratieri realizes the battle is lost, completely lost. He orders retreat, but retreat is chaos. The Italian army is scattered across difficult terrain. Ethiopian forces are pursuing. The organized Italian army has become a panicked mob trying to escape. Ethiopian cavalry hunts the fleeing soldiers. Some Italian units try to make stands. They're overwhelmed, killed, or captured. The 4th Brigade, the only one that maintained some cohesion, tries to cover the retreat. They're fighting constant rearguard actions just to escape with their lives. By evening, it's over.
The Italian army has been annihilated. Approximately 7,000 Italian and Eritrean soldiers dead. Another 1,500 wounded. Nearly 3,000 captured. Half the invading army dead, wounded, or captured in a single day. Italian artillery captured, rifles captured, supplies captured, military colors captured, generals captured or dead. The Ethiopian casualties? Estimates vary, perhaps 4,000 to 5,000 killed, maybe 8,000 wounded, significant losses. But they won, decisively, completely, utterly. A European colonial power's army had been destroyed by an African nation, in battle, fairly, absolutely. News of Adwa spread like wildfire. In Italy, the defeat caused political crisis. The government fell. Prime Minister Francesco Crispi resigned in disgrace. Italy was humiliated. Italian public opinion was shocked. How could their modern army lose to Africans? The colonial narrative said this was impossible. But it had happened. The bodies coming home proved it. The captured soldiers confirmed it. The military equipment lost documented it. Italy sued for peace. In October 1896, Italy signed the Treaty of Addis Ababa. The terms were clear. Italy recognizes Ethiopian independence completely. No protectorate, no ambiguity. Ethiopia is a sovereign nation. The Treaty of Wuchale is annulled. The deception is officially erased. Italy keeps Eritrea, their coastal colony, but they will not invade Ethiopia again, not for 40 years. Ethiopia had won against a European colonial power with military force decisively. But the impact went far beyond Ethiopia. For the European powers watching, Adwa was a shock. It shattered fundamental assumptions. The assumption that European military superiority was absolute. Ethiopia proved it wasn't. The assumption that African resistance was futile. Ethiopia proved otherwise. The assumption that colonization was inevitable. Ethiopia remained free. For colonized Africans and oppressed people globally, Adwa was inspiration. If Ethiopia could defeat Italy, resistance wasn't hopeless. Victory was possible. Independence could be won. Adwa became a symbol of African capability, of resistance succeeding, of colonialism being defeatable. African Americans looked to Ethiopia as proof of Black achievement. Marcus Garvey cited Adwa. W.E.B. Du Bois wrote about it. Ethiopia became a symbol of African dignity. Caribbean anti-colonial movements drew inspiration from Adwa. If Black Africans could defeat white Europeans in battle, independence movements could succeed. Rastafarianism was partly inspired by Ethiopia's independence. They saw Ethiopia's resistance to colonization as fulfillment of prophecy. Across colonized Africa, leaders looked to Ethiopia as the one place that remained free, the proof that African independence was possible. Emperor Menelik II ruled until his death in 1913. He modernized Ethiopia, built schools, improved infrastructure, maintained independence in a colonized continent. Empress Taitu Biche remained a powerful political force. Her role at Adwa was celebrated. She proved female leadership in war was effective. Ethiopia remained independent through the entire scramble for Africa. While every other African nation fell to colonization, Ethiopia stood free. The Battle of Adwa is why. But there's something crucial to understand about how this victory was possible. Menelik didn't win through luck. He won through preparation, intelligence, and understanding his enemy. He spent years stockpiling modern weapons. He studied European military tactics. He unified Ethiopia politically. He built alliances with regional powers. When war came, he was ready. More ready than Italy expected. More ready than Europe believed possible. He also understood geography. The Battle of Adwa was fought on Ethiopian terrain, mountainous, rocky, difficult for European military formations, but familiar to Ethiopian warriors. And he understood timing. Menelik waited for the Italian army to overextend, to advance too far from supply lines, to split their forces. Then he struck with overwhelming numbers at the moment of Italian vulnerability. This wasn't a miracle. This was strategic brilliance.